Joining us, Will. Welcome back. We've got you. We missed you from last week.
Yeah, sorry, but hope everybody had a good Independence Day weekend that was celebrating, and good day for the markets. Good day for those following my anchor mode on Fate. I see you guys, so I'm glad you're enjoying that.
It's very good. Yeah. Whenever you come back and whenever there's some type of market talk, there's positivity in the market space, positive intuitions, positive thoughts. I like that.
Yes.
All right. So for today's show, we have discussed, or we have put out there that there is a partnership announcement. We're going to get into that. We're going to make it short, to the point. UpLink itself has some interesting fiat options that will also become available, which we kind of talked about last week as well. We're going to just further dive into that. But primarily for this show, we want to talk about credit card rewards, points. We see it all across. I mean, we see them for personal cards, we see them for business credit cards, and we always see 2x, 4x points. We're just constant promotions, right? We're bombarded with this kind of stuff. But what if you're into crypto, and then what if you're actually new to crypto? You don't even know where to start. That's where UpLink can actually help you get crypto and perhaps earn these points or rewards through UpLink. It's pretty cool. So we're going to go through that as well. So of course we have the disclaimer. We definitely need that for today's show. We're going to be showing some interesting numbers. So hang in there. We'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, we're back. All right. Partnership announcement. Let's just get that out of the way. Again, a lot of times the community members don't want to just wait. They want the news. So hit us with it. Hit it out.
So I'm excited to announce that we'll talk about it at the end of the show. It's so a couple of things. First of all, we were trying to get to the point where we actually announce who it is, and I can't do that today. Wah, 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 sad trombone. The only reason, guys, is because I want to coordinate marketing with that group. But I don't want to leave you empty-handed. I will tell you, it's not a metaverse. It is a launch pad. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. We sign up different metaverses and, Altverse and Cryptometa, recently, and all these sorts of things. So all of these are really great quality projects. And by the way, we're not done. Some of the projects that are in the pipeline coming forward and joining UpLink in the near future are unbelievable. I mean, some of these things are just like World of Warcraft killers. You guys get the reference. And so, and everybody says that, right? But one of them in particular really has a shot at I think, at doing that. But in this case, a launchpad is significant because it not only introduces one metaverse, it introduces many, right? So we're really, really excited about that. So stay tuned for the name. We're going to push this out in a concerted marketing pitch, them, us. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of great exposure for UpLink. So stay tuned. I promise it's coming very, very soon.
It's a big launchpad too. You guys are all going to know it.
Yes, you guys know exactly who this is, right?
It's interesting also looking at your glasses, Will's shirt, some of my background information, saying that it's kind of cool. Lots of...
We're going teal, stuff. You know what I mean? We're going... Oh, I'm not even going to get into that spoiler. That's too obvious. I'm taking this off. Will, take off your shirt. Forget that reference. We don't want...
Now you got it. Yeah.
You really don't want to see my dad.
It took me a second. Boy, that was clever. Yeah.
I'm sneaky with pulling out some information.
You know what the problem is that there'll be a few folks in the community who will totally guess it now. It's like, oh yeah, I know who it is. But anyway, there's a theme here.
Affirming nor denying anything at this point, as you said. Just waiting for the final confirmation of everything, and then the name shall be revealed. Put it that way.
Exactly.
Next, UpLink. We had discussed last week of different fiat options, right? So not just accepting US dollars in terms of buying crypto, but you guys are going to be opening it up to multiple currencies, right?
Yes. So this is something that's been in beta for a little bit now, and we're going to release it today, hopefully. I wanted to release it yesterday, but I found one bug at the last second. So we're going to clear that up. We'll launch it today. We're launching with a pretty wide set of currencies. So for people in the United States, this is not something you normally think about, but people in other countries, they'll have a credit or debit card or prepaid card that is filled up with their local currency, whether it's kroner, euros, rupees, whatever. And they go to pay for something that accepts money in United States dollars. And this exchange rate conversion has to happen, right? And then the banking system tries to kind of ratchet more money out of people through this process. So what we've done is added the ability to accept money in people's native currencies directly in upLink, which is super cool. So if you want to pay in euros, it'll go straight to us in euros, and then we'll do the conversion on our side after all that stuff processes. This is a very big deal.
Yep. I actually noticed the other day, oddly enough, on this topic, search engines, websites, a lot of times they'll do like geographical lookup to see where you are, and then they will then actually update prices for you, right? So I'm a believer in VPNs. It is what it is. You have your take on it, but I'm just Googling stuff, and all of a sudden I saw prices in sterling or by pounds.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, what is this for like USD? I have to do the math for this. But in that sense, it's always good to know that upLink in itself will then, for that specific user, tell them how much crypto they're going to be receiving for that, and that there is no other intermediary conversion happening there, which then could cost them additional funds by, again, that exchange rate. So everything's going to be straightforward. They know what they're going to be getting. That in itself is a huge value. So there's never any kind of crazy calculations that have to be done. It'll be on point.
Yeah, it's going to show up straight up. Like you'll see it. It'll show I'm paying in pesos. I'm going to get this much AI or this much BNB or this much USDC, whatever. Straight conversion. It's really cool. That. We're adding, I think, about 10 or 12 currencies. Let me think if I can get it's this stuff that should be obvious. They're like all the kind of high value ones you would expect, like British pounds, euros, kroner, New Zealand, Singapore, Cayman Islands dollars, Australian dollars, peso. Like there's a list, but it's extensive. It's extensive. We're trying to stick with higher quality fiat currencies, but I think this will hit the vast majority of people with this.
Okay. Yeah, got to be. I think we had mentioned that also on last week's show that we can't. That there's some currencies that unfortunately just can't be offered. I mean, like you're restricted to what you can actually provide. But
because we're FinCEN regulated, right? We have to screen for PEP sanctions. We have to screen for what do you call like bank sanctions, like all these types of things, right?
Very true. All right, another interesting update, and this goes for the community in specifically, because as you know, a lot of them are tracking everything, which is good because Flourishing AI, we're fully transparent in everything. We're always going live on Fridays to answer or ask questions. But one thing in particular is that we see a huge influx of transactions on upLink. This is something that I always just want to emphasize over and over again. During this market, when it's a bad market, right? Transactions and volume has increased, right? You guys are seeing that. And the interesting note on that is majority of the transactions are USDC, right? So we're going to make that transition into credit card rewards, all that kind of stuff, because as we know, stable coins are supposed to remain stable, right? If you buy $1 of USDC, it's supposed to remain that way. But before we get into the whole credit card rewards aspect and start getting different opinions on that, I do again want to emphasize that upLink in itself is growing or in our organic way. And I mean, it's factual. People can see it again from the transactional point of view, but it's just awesome to see. I mean, this is like, again, this is a baby of yours. You're watching it grow, right? And it looks like just like Fate, upLink is getting ready to run. Remember when Fate just said, I want to just run, and you had to go in there and kind of like tell them to hold back. Like right now, upLink is, you guys are getting these transactions, right? It's coming at you guys.
Yeah, to the point to where we're actually scrambling to trying to find enough liquidity to keep funding it. Like, it's actually been a whole other interesting problem to source liquidity to actually keep delivering crypto to people, right? This is not something people usually think about. It's like, oh man, these guys have to like have access to a lot of money on the other side to convert it and then go back and forth.
Very true. But
sometimes we have a run on. Usually, when you say a run on, it's a negative thing. In this case, it's a positive, right? We have a run on crypto right now because everybody I talk to, from people who have been in the space forever to people who have, just recently been in the space, from people who are fairly larger, holders of crypto, to people who are just getting started, with their first few Satoshis. Whatever the case may be, everybody's got this sense that we are, sort of near a market bottom or at. There's evidence that we might be turning the corner already, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's why everybody's buying stable coins right now, because everybody's just waiting on that pounce, flip it over when you're fairly confident you're going into an upswing market. And we'll talk a little bit about that. If you look at the last week, that would, that the patterns hold that. BTC is up 12%, over 7 days. Ethereum up 15%. It's looking pretty good. Now, is this a dead cat bounce? I will get to that with Will, but that's basically this. Those are the signals. No, don't do that. Positive vibes. Actually, there's a lot of reasons to think we are in a rebound, but we'll get to that. But the point being is, everybody just kind of wants to get into that space right now and just be ready to pounce. For those of you who have been equity investors for a long time, there's a lot of cash sitting in the sidelines and treasuries, and everybody just in mass flips over when there's this, sentiment that things are about to recover and all that sort of stuff. That's definitely not happening on the equity side today, despite some of the gains on Friday today and all that sort of stuff. But that is a dead cat bounce, in my opinion, for sure. But it's certainly looking that way. The other thing that we did want to, and I wanted to roll this in, Jason, as well. One of the things that Will and I have started to operate is an over-the-counter trading desk as well, right? So we'll have that up on the uplinkdefi.com website very, very soon. So we've been working on that. But those of you who want to buy, in lots of like 10,000 or more in one fell swoop, that area of our website will give you the ability to reach out, put your hand up, say I'm interested, and then we'll sort of reach out to you guys, or someone on our team will reach out to you guys and help you handle that situation. Full disclosure, everybody's going to ask, do I need to KYC and all that? It's volume dependent, right? If you want to buy very small amounts, you really don't have to. We are subject to regulations and all that sort of stuff, and we're playing it by the book, right? We've always done that. We always will do that. But I will say it's interesting, is you can buy some pretty big lots and of tokens that otherwise wouldn't be available in some very big lots through us. So we'll notify the community both on Twitter and on Telegram. So stay tuned for that. So we're really, really excited about that. And we've already been operating. So a little bit of a reveal for the community. We've already been operating this OTC desk for about a month. Right. And we haven't really talked about it because it's just been a few people that.
Yeah, we have a network of close people that, we're kind of beta testing it with. So, and it's worked out pretty good. So.
I'm letting you guys take the lead on that one. I don't want to disclose any information we're not supposed to be talking about.
I appreciate it.
Knowing that OTC, that's going to be available for everybody, again, directly on the uplink DeFi website, is a service that a lot of institutional investors use. They're not typically going onto a centralized exchange. They're not going to a DEX to make these big orders. They're not going to be doing that. So it doesn't make sense. All right. On that note, interesting transition here. Ready for this? So the main purpose behind this video is, again, to talk about credit card rewards, points.
Yep.
We see it across the internet. But as mentioned, or as you guys know, there is personal credit cards and then there's business credit cards, right? And there's a big distinguish difference between both of these. Before, however, we also get into that, there's one thing that I just want to kind of point out. One, right off the bat, a lot of these credit cards, or majority of them, have like an annual fee. So that's just something you have to look for when going to it. And we're going to show you some stuff and get more into this. But the other thing is, don't over leverage yourself. Okay. And this is specifically for credit cards. I've seen it time and time again where, true or not, in group chats, people are saying that they are going out and they're using credit cards or they're going out to take loans to purchase crypto. Everybody has their own strategy. Always look at the the terms agreements, look at the actual APYs, everything, because a lot of times you can get hurt a lot more than what you're expecting.
Yes.
So just be cognizant of that. The rewards and everything that we're going to be talking about are true. It's all out there. People are doing it. We're going to talk about a community of 500,000 plus people actually just doing this same thing. But to make $500, to make $1,000 off of these points or to get a free flight isn't then worth it to get hit with credit card damage and to hurt your score and all that stuff. So just be aware. This is the one thing I just want to get across.
It depends on what your goals are right now, right? If you're looking to buy a house, you need your credit score to be as pristine as possible, right?
Yep.
Preferably over 700.
Yep. So after all of that, and after you also saw our disclaimer at the very beginning, by the way, there's two parts that are interesting to this. So upLink DeFi, we'll put it up again. This allows you to purchase crypto with a credit card. Plain and simple. Right. It's the easiest thing. You literally just go onto the site, you enter your credit card information, you get crypto. A lot of these credit cards, the personal ones, have certain goals that you might have to hit. So for instance, you have to spend $3,000 in 3 months, 4 months, whatever, to achieve that specific reward. So that can be done. Mm-hmm. But Eric and Will, for business credit cards, so like Amex Platinum, right? They say you can get 100,000 points, whatever it might be, and we have the information. You'll get a certain amount of points. But that barrier is like 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, right? There's a higher denominal value. Perhaps that's where the OTC deals can come into play. Right? So that is an interesting twist in itself. So to use that, again, as an expense, though, and using obviously for proper usage, there's different strategies for all of this, right? One thing, I guess, where we can start, and I think this is honestly just the best part, and this is on Reddit and other social media platforms, other sites, there's a method or strategy of called like churning, right? Will, it's like basically there's a bunch of people that are out there that are looking for these types of rewards to get like sign up bonuses, and then you just made $250, $500 by just signing up, by moving funds or doing something. But that specific communities literally has 500,000 members. And upLink is a service or a platform to which many of those members can take advantage of, especially if they're interested in crypto and buying crypto. So can you just discuss a little bit about what churning is, why those members of that group should be interested in upLink, and then we could get into some of these other credit card stuff and other strategies. But let's start like the bare bones basics. Just explain that there are communities, thousands of people doing this. Like this is a real thing.
A lot of people. Yeah, 500,000 people is no joke. That's like a sizable portion of the population.
It's massive. Right? Yep.
And so the concept is, these companies make credit cards and they have to entice people. Why should use this credit card over a different credit card, right? To a normal person, they're all kind of the same, right? So they try to entice people and use these cards by giving them these various reward programs. Usually they're points based. And why they're not crypto based is beyond me. But points could become a stable coin, right? But that's a whole separate conversation. So they'll give you points. Then you can redeem those points typically to either flights, hotels, gift cards, like all sorts of different things. So what people do is they will just cycle through. They'll get a new card, do something called manufactured spending, and then they'll rack up these points to get these rewards. And then they'll flip to the next card, close one account, open another account, and keep doing it over and over and over again. And there's a whole bunch of different techniques. And there's even services now that will allow you to pay things that traditionally you could only pay with a checking account, like a utility bill right? Let's say you have a power bill for your house. Normally, you can only pay that with a checking account linked. But now there's services that you can pay your credit card and then it pays your power bill, which then goes to the spending limit on the card to get these rewards. So people are racking up rewards this way.
I think the states want to figure out a way to easily make it available to receive those funds. I think that's what the problem ended up being. And ironically, we're seeing a lot of government or town divisions starting to actually accept cryptocurrencies for like electricity and other things. Some of them are doing that. So it's an interesting transition even from there, just talking about credit cards.
Yeah. So you can max out all of your fiat money income that you can spend that you're normally spending on stuff, right? This way. But then, if you still have to hit a higher tier to get a reward, what do you do next? And that's where the type of manufactured spending that involves cycling money through something like a currency exchange kicks in. And this is where upLink starts helping out, right? So you want to go basically from fiat, spend on your card in a purchase, the money goes into crypto, then you send the crypto back to your bank. And then it creates a loop. Every time you do this loop, you get more reward points on your card.
But Will, I don't understand crypto. I've never purchased crypto before. It sounds great. I see these points. I have to get 3,000 points. But I also heard this thing about volatility within the crypto space. I don't want to go out and use my credit card to buy Bitcoin and then all of a sudden find out the 1,000 that I purchased is now worth only $800. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but are we telling me that I can actually use my credit card to then purchase a stable token that doesn't actually change in price?
Well, let me draw a parallel real quick, if I may just jump in on this, Will. So, all of these Voyager, Three Arrows, all these people that had all these problems with liquidity. This is basically what they did. They took a bunch of Bitcoin, they used it as collateral, they borrowed a bunch of money, betting it would go up, right? It went down, and then they don't have enough money to pay it back, right?
That's called a margin call for
called a margin call for those of you who are not familiar with that. So my point in this is don't do that on a personal level. Yeah, don't go out, get a bunch of high interest credit cards at 21%. We'll talk about some great credit cards here that you can use with upLink in just a little bit, but don't go out, get a 21% APY loan and then watch crypto fall 60%. I mean, over the past couple of months, a lot of these tokens, Ethereum has dropped almost 60% in the past couple of months. So, I mean, imagine being in that situation. And on top of that, you have to pay the APY back. Don't do that.
Further to that, too, credit cards typically are variable interest loans.
Yeah,
correct.
So this is the same problem that people get into trouble with getting a HELOC on their house. It's a variable interest loan. Credit card is the same deal. And as we all know, as I've been saying for months and months and months and months, the Federal Reserve is raising the interest rates. So what credit cards are doing is they're taking that rate and then adding another rate on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the point is that if you're arbitraging,
we could have a literally a video on that, on how to better educate them on credit card disclosures, not over leveraging yourself, getting stuck in literally paying interest instead of principal, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to upLink. This is big because there are sites out there that say that they accept credit cards, but they're using third-party providers that are charging crazy interest, different processing fees. There's a lot of other variables at play. But if somebody goes to upLink, you guys are offering other currencies, so digital assets, right? So they could actually go and buy BNB if they wanted to. But in this method and maximizing rewards, it does theoretically make sense as a safer option to purchase USDC, which I hate to say it, it is the most stable version of the tokens that are available. But you're not gonna just buy that and then think it's gonna drop like 20%, right? You're kind of feeling safer by going that route. So you could again go to upLink. You can buy USDC, but the FOMO, I love this moment because I could just say it. The FOMO can also just hit you, right? Eric, you could say go to uplinkdefi.com, I'm going to put $5,000 in there. I want to maximize my credit card points. I'm going to buy it, put it in there, and I'm going to say, I think we're at the bottom of this crypto market. Instead of USDC, I'm going to get BNB.
Or AI intent.
But if I did BNB, and I'm just pulling up like CoinGecko 7 days ago, BNB is up 11.9%, whereas USDC would have just been the same. So I could then also formulate another strategy where I hate to also just say you're paying the minimum payment of a credit card, or now you're dividing it up, but that BNB could increase in value, right? It could obviously then pay for whatever other fees are involved to then get more from just points, right? You can actually now make money on it. So it's different strategies.
Correct.
But I think for this route specifically, we're saying USDC might be the best route or the safest route.
It's the least risky route.
You're exposed to currency fluctuations with Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, whereas you're not with stable coins. Okay, so if you're fairly confident, so two strategies. Number one is, I think I can time the market. I think I kind of know which way the market's going, right? And I'm going to go borrow a bunch of money. Don't, right? So education is what we do here, not financial advice. And this is NFA for sure. But, it just, if you're betting on taking out a loan and arbitraging, you are betting that you can time the market better than other people, right? Usually a bad bet, number one. Number two, almost always a bad bet.
Usually
number two, if you're in it for the long haul, you might as well jump into Bitcoin, BNB, Ethereum. Why? Because they're at historical lows right now, right? And if your time horizon is a couple of years, you'll probably make money, right? It's kind of like buying a first home or starter home for many of you. I've talked to a few of you in the community, and you guys are, some of you are in the process of doing that right now. And I won't call out any names, but I'm really excited for you guys that are, getting into your first starter home. A few folks in the Seattle area that are shopping around right now, by the way. So, that is a long-term purchase. That's the kind of thing where you hang out there for 10, 15 years and you're good to go, right? It's kind of the same thing here. If you're more of a short-termer, our advice is pick up some stable coins and then either wait for the markets to stabilize, or even better, in our opinion, put it into something like Flourishing AI that will go ahead and manage that portfolio for you. Most of you in the community have actually started to copy Will's strategies, right?
Yeah.
Around, setting anchor mode and all that. That's been really fun to watch.
Which is good. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You learn from it.
So those are your two safer strategies, right? Let AI figure it out, or just buy into this, go ahead and put your crypto in a cold wallet and then just let it ride for a long-term period. I mean, either one of those are great strategies.
Very true. All right. Eric, I know you want to share your screen to go over some things. I will just do a quick share of my own, and this is just from Amex, so American Express. Me just talking about points and stuff. I feel like in terms of marketing, Amex is always just the front runner there. They're always hard on marketing and
they
talking
are
about
fantastic.
They're killing it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's off of their website, so it's a pretty damn straightforward point. So let me just pull it up real quick. So what I'm getting at, however, is this. So when we talk about maximizing points and using your credit card, you can basically create your strategy with just pen and paper and a calculator before you even apply. You're already going to know what your strategy is going to provide you. We know what the transaction fees are. We know basically the entire thing. So you can map it all out. So in this scenario, when we're here, 120,000 membership rewards points. But after you spend $15,000 within 3 months, but of course, eligible purchases, right? So again, read the fine print, go through it, know that there's also that annual fee, $695. So I'm not actually really prepared to do the math like live now, but when I personally did do it, my break or my profit from all this would have actually come out to around $650, $700.
Yeah,
That was
it's an inexact science, but the rewards membership points for Amex kind of mentally convert that into pennies, right? So 120,000 pennies. So that's basically 1,200, give or take. It's a little higher than a penny. So essentially what they're doing is they're charging you an upfront $695, and if you sort of go through their hoops, they're giving you 1,200 back, right? So if you have the ability to throw that kind of spend on there, for those of you who are business travelers, or maybe you own a business, or you got some you're spending $5,000 a month for whatever reason on credit cards, that kind of makes sense. That's not for everybody, though, for sure. So onto business cash blue, right?
I want to pause there for a second before we go on to the next one. Scroll back up here, because this is important for people. You see this 0% APR for a year? That doesn't mean your minimum payment is going to be zero for a year. What they're going to do is they're going to calculate your minimum payment per month based off of what the APR is going to be at the end of that term.
Yeah,
so if they predict the APR is going to be 10%, they're going to be charging you a minimum payment of based on that every month, even though the interest rate is zero during that time. That's very important to know. That doesn't mean you're just going to get all this free money that you don't have to make any payments on for the next year.
Sneaky, yes.
Yes. And that ties into a credit building strategy for those of you who are interested. One of the easiest ways to build credit is put a bunch of, your sort of usual daily sundry purchases, gas, food, food and so on, right? On a credit card, just pay it off every week, right? And so just keep rotating cash, right? You'll actually build. And here's the best part. If you're getting rewards on that stuff, it's like the cash buyers are subsidizing your purchase to the tune of, in this case, 2%. That's pretty awesome.
So before we just go to Eric's screen, just simple math right here. 0 annual fee, obviously asterisks, but just to make the math simple, right? Spend $3,000 in first 3 months, $250. They're going to give you $250 statement fee. So right then there, it's not points. You don't have to do crazy math, thinking a point is a penny, all that kind of stuff. It's $250 towards your statement. So on uplink, you could purchase up to $5,000 at once per transaction. So right then there, $3,000, one transaction, paid off right away. You just got $250.
Yeah, plus the 2% cash back too, right?
Yes, and you're going to be getting cash back. Yep, everything.
Yep.
So even here's for the OTC deals. Don't go above $50,000, and you're going to get 2% cash back. Boom.
Not bad.
Not bad. That's an amazing. It's there. It's all at that point. It's all just math. That's all that it is. It's there.
It's free money, right? And that's the thing. Now, the other thing that you'll notice with a lot of these credit cards is that they tend to be travel focused. And there are many reasons for that, but I'll share my screen. Let me show you something else on sort of the same bent here that Jason's on. So for those of you who haven't checked this out, this is there's no partnership, there's no affiliate anything between these people and us, right? We're just sharing this for your benefit. There's a website called The Points Guys, so check it out. Really great.
There's so many sites like this, but that's the other thing.
There's so many.
There's communities. Yes. There's businesses.
Yes.
I think years ago, like Amex and these other companies made it so that their points were only internal, right? But I think a lot of them are now allowing you to like sell their points or like transfer and do all kinds of other stuff. But like there's communities, there's platforms, all this stuff to help you maximize this stuff. So that's why also, again, if we could get uplink into that, done.
Right. So one of the things that we'd be interested in, so you can take your points off a lot of these credit cards and directly buy on Amazon. So one of the cards I use actually just allows me to rack up points with Amazon buys and then literally on checkout, apply those points back, right? So I'm just cycling rewards through, which is pretty great if you're an Amazon person. The other thing is you can, historically you can spend some of those points on things like magazine subscriptions and all that. So we're looking at ways to potentially provide that to uplink. That's a longer term project. Don't get too excited. It's not coming out next week, but get excited for long term, because we think that that's a real winner. Back to these things, a lot of these are, beginner travel. By the way, quick note, and Jason mentioned this before, you got to read the fine print, right? 5X on travel. Okay, awesome, right? But check this out. Purchase through Chase Ultimate Rewards. So in other words,
their platform.
You've got to go through their portal. So you may be getting some great deals on their portal. You may not, right? So this credit card, even though it's, best for total value, according to these guys, I actually personally don't think this is as good a card as some of the other ones, because of the fact that you're locked into one purchase mechanism. 5X is great, right? 3X on dining, fantastic. I love that, right? But you're locked into some of these purchases, via their portal, right? Annual fees reasonable, intro offers pretty darn great. For those of you who are not familiar with intro offers, grab some of these intro offers, buy your crypto on uplink. You can rack up the points pretty fast and then cycle to another credit card, another one, and so on, right? So I do this all the time, right? So these intro offers are really something to take advantage of, and it almost encourages you to card hop, right? Couple of others, airline rewards and so on. There's a few here that I really want to touch on. This 5X rewards is pretty great. We've already talked about this. Jason on the Amex site sort of talked about the 100,000 points is actually 120 now.
I want to see uplink and Amex partnership.
That would be awesome. We're interested. So if you work for Amex and you're listening to this, reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. Right?
Maybe we need to put something like that also on uplink DeFi, just providing a brief strategy for some of this stuff, or on a blog post. Interesting.
Totally. So again, travel cards, right? So there's a lot of this stuff. This one's pretty interesting, right? 10x miles, but again, booked through Capital One Travel. So you're kind of locked into a portal. This is one of the ones right here that I really, really personally like. I have this card, for the record. And by the way, for our subscribers to Flourishing AI, we're going to put out a post sort of following this that's going to run through cards that we personally use and why we favor them. So that's Jason, that's me, that's Will. So stay tuned for that. I think you'll really, really enjoy that. But I'll give you a little bit, for those of you who aren't subscribed yet, and you totally should be, totally should be using Flourishing AI, especially in this market. But I'll give you a little bit of a preview. This is one of the cards that I have in my wallet, and I really like this one because it's 6% at U.S. supermarkets. For us personally, lifestyle-wise, my wife loves cooking, right? Just loves cooking, right?
Hey,
so
I gotta butt in there and just say, for those in the Beyond FOMO group, I'm always posting photos of food. I'm the biggest person in the world. So once everything comes, the market's coming back and stuff, we'll have Beyond FOMO in the kitchen, all that kind of stuff. We'll have awesome shows just on food and cooking.
We need a cook-off, dude.
We need a cook-off.
Cooking with crypto.
You know what we need to do? We need to do like a barbecue off. North Carolina versus Texas.
I'm down.
What do you think?
It's not really a competition. We all know.
No, I know it's not. I'm kidding. Oh, you just walked right into that one, Will. But yeah, it's but kidding aside, I mean, this one's great, right? 6%.
And food adds up.
And again,
groceries are expensive.
If you're like groceries are going up. So that's the funny thing, right? Because inflation is hitting groceries, you can actually hit these purchase thresholds a lot faster and get your points faster, right? And especially again, like if you're like us, my wife loves to cook, loves to, put that food down on the table and immediately jumps out with the phone and takes it, right? So Jason's the same way, right? So the other thing is, for those of you, again, there's a little bit of a COVID resurgence. So maybe some of you are kind of, shying away from sort of going out to bars and other things, right? Streaming, right, becomes your entertainment source. Well, 6% on that, right? So I have my Netflix subscription on this. I have my, HBO Max subscription on this, right? So definitely highly recommend that. So these are some of the things that we will make available to our subscriber community. But this is just a little bit of a preview of some of the things that we want to put out there. This is a good one, and I highly recommend that. One more thing I want to sort of bring up. Some of these, 5% rotating bonus category cards right here. So what you do is you choose a, sort of a sector, if you will, right? Online retail, supermarket shopping, fuel, and so on, right? So those sorts of things. And then what they'll do is a lot of these cards, whether it's Freedom Flex, Discovered, all these cards right here, what they'll do is they'll give you a category of the month, and whatever you spend on that, you get 5% on, as opposed to the usual 1.5 or 2%, right? So when online shopping becomes a category, boom, you've got yourself an instant 5% on uplinkdefi.com, right? So that's really handy as well. Now, there's a few other cards that I want to, sort of talk about in our premium community, but those are some of the basics. Essentially, just look for rotating categories and benefit from that. Look for intro offers and take advantage of those. Keep cycling through intro offers, right? All of this is couched in, you got to have a decent credit score. So a lot of these opportunities are a lot harder, not impossible, but a lot harder to come by if your credit score is, say, under 600. So try to keep that up as well. Again, general statement, like if you go out and you go to these, credit fixer agencies that charge you $99 to fix it, all they're going to do is two things. I promise you can do this yourself. All they're going to do is call your credit card issuers and try to negotiate down your fees or try to negotiate down your balance in some way, shape, or form. The second is they're going to tell you to be more diligent about payment. Pay your cards off every week. Bring your balances back down to zero at the end of the week, right? And just keep cycling through that. So there you go. I've saved you $99. For actually, if you're in that mode where you need to sort of credit repair, just do that. I'll end with one
credit repair. A lot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a whole cottage industry around that, but it boils down to those two strategies. And one more thing really quick, Jason, before I hand it back. There are two credit cards in particular that I haven't talked about on this show that I want to talk about with the premium communities that, sort of beyond FOMO and, the Flourishing premium community. So if you're not subscribed, do that. I'm going to talk about two that I haven't brought up here. One of them, actually, and this is a little surprise for you, will actually give you direct Bitcoin rewards. So that's super cool. So
it's not the card that I have, right? Different card?
Nope. It's not crypto.com. It's a new one.
No, it's not crypto.com. Okay. All right.
Nope. It's not that one. It's a new one. And it's 2% in Bitcoin. How do you like that?
Oh, wait, so you're actually going out to then get rewarded in Bitcoin for buying stable coins and then again,
correct. So you're immediately 2% ahead, and if Bitcoin jumps, you're well ahead of the pack, right?
Okay.
And if not, you've got a 2% float, right? So if it goes down 2%, you're still at zero. How about that?
True. Okay. So I think one of the parts to emphasize the most on this is to not just go onto these sites and then just start randomly applying for these credit cards also, right? There is math. I know a lot of people just don't like math, but if you want to, again, make $200, $300, $500, just go through each credit card, read the terms, go through it, and it's literally money just being handed to you. And if you know how to utilize it and maximize and squeeze out all the rewards and points, why not? It's there for you. That's why these credit cards are charging these merchants 3%, 5%. They're getting it from the merchant, so you might as well take advantage of it. That's how it works. The merchants, the store, the business owners are paying for those points in a way. That's how
it's like a weird rebate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Like if you think about our perspective at uplink, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody pays us with one of these cards, right? We're the merchant.
Yeah, you're giving us the points.
We get charged a fee for processing that card. That fee that we get charged is actually coming from the reward points that goes to that person, right? So you think about the card company, right, that offers that card, right? They are making a certain amount of money from charging the merchant fees. They give some of that money back to the customer in points, and then they keep the difference in those. Right. So
what you're saying is we got to thank you guys for the points also. You guys are giving us the points in a way.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. It's kind of uplink gets charged for the points, and then that goes right back to reward points for those users, right? That's how the system works, right? So all these card companies are fighting over the same people because they want to capture that small delta between what they charge merchants versus what they give out to customers. The difference in those is the revenue for the card company.
It's a volume game. If you're using Jason Bank's credit card as opposed to Eric Bank credit card, I lose out, he wins. It's a zero-sum game for these guys. So they're always really ambitious about putting these points out. Again, couched in, you need a decent credit score. And again, if that's something you guys want to talk about, I mean, I've kind of spilled the beans already. Just do those two things I mentioned earlier and you're golden, right? Just
that will keep your oldest card open, because when they calculate your FICO score, that's going to be a large factor of how long your credit history is, right? So never cancel the oldest card.
We need another show just on all those different factors. 30%, everything. There's a lot to it. We are getting close to, I'm just cognizant of the time. Another interesting quirk or cool aspect about the premium group, aside from the market talk segments, is also with Fate and the current market. Obviously, it looks like it's coming back. I'm looking at CoinGecko now. Love the greens. I love the positivity of that.
Yeah.
But also Fate and Anchor Mode. So, Will, can you tell us a little bit more about that? And for those that are getting new into the space, those that are already in the space that perhaps want additional tool set for them for trading to interact with Fate, and then obviously the option to follow your strategy in a way, right?
Yeah, this is something we made from feedback from a lot of customers we had. Fate, she's a very smart system, but she's got to know what money you want to gain, right? Do you want to gain Bitcoin? Do you want to gain Ethereum? Do you want to gain cash? And that's really going to depend on where we are on this market cycle. Are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? Are we in a sideways market, right? And these kind of macro level decisions are best for a human to make the call on, right? So we had a lot of confusion from people that they would stick it in BTC anchor mode and just walk away, right? And then they saw the bear market kick in, like, well, I'm losing cash value. Well, because crypto has entirely lost cash value, right? You're gaining Bitcoin, but you're losing cash. So what we implemented was the ability to follow another member's anchor mode, because you can change it as you go along. You can say, well, I want to accumulate cash because we're in a bear market, or I want to accumulate Bitcoin because we're in a bull market, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So since you can change that as a person, right? The command and Fate, this is really kind of how you would kind of change long-term what your portfolio is trying to achieve. And so now that you can follow another member's anchor mode, a lot of people have chosen to follow my anchor mode, I guess, unsurprisingly, because I sit here and watch markets like all day, as you know.
So what did you do anything? Did you change something recently? What was your most recent change?
I did. I was in Tether cash anchor mode, establishing a cash position for most of the bear market. And I recently switched it to BTC anchor mode, even though the bottom wasn't fully confirmed yet, because I saw so many technical indicators appearing to be bullish. We had a lot of BTC moving off exchanges to cold wallets. We had a lot of Tether moving into exchanges to then buy crypto. We had a pretty significant bounce off the 2017 peak. And if you take all this in context, the fact that the price came all the way down to 2017, it's such an obvious buy. Like, dude, it erased 5 years of price action. Yeah, erased 5 years of price action. That's a steal. Like, if you have any belief in Bitcoin at all going forward, that's yeah.
Yep, so there's a lot of comparisons of those two charts. I see that throughout multiple communities on social media. The peak all the way down to kind of where we're at now. And I mean, I'd love to obviously get your opinion on it, but going forward, there might still be another dip, two dips, but we're basically like there. We're basically at the bottom. according to charts.
Well, the other thing too is in equities, we've actually hit the 50% Fibonacci retracement to the COVID crash, which is also a very technically significant level to hit. We've also hit the kind of half-year rebalancing for major funds, companies that run things like 401ks and like large institutions.
Big money.
Like this,
Yeah.
right? They will rebalance like on the half-year mark. They just did that in the beginning of July, right? So they basically watched this whole bear market played out since January, and they're like, now they're rebalancing everything, right? So when you have a market correction this severe after half a year, that involves buying a lot of equities, a lot of securities, a lot of crypto, like that they're exposed to that, things like that, right? So this is a natural bounce to come from that type of action from these entities as well. So there's a lot of factors in play. I don't think the bear market's done from an economic standpoint, but typically market bottoms in regards to pricing happens before the economy recovers. True. Because people are always looking forward to like, okay, well, what's going to happen 6 months from now? Do we predict that the economy will recover, or are we in for another 6 months of pain and suffering, right?
No.
If they think 6 months from now, like things are going to improve, and we see indicators in even this realm, oil's starting to come down. This was a big factor. I've been talking about this for literally 6 months now. You guys are probably sick of me talking about oil. You're seeing that come down, right? The value of the US dollar is so overinflated. It's out of control, overinflated.
Ironically, also to add to that, there is another FOMC meeting July, so towards the end of this month. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that I think will also be an indicator as to if they're increasing the rate a lot, decrease, staying the same, right? I mean, that should give something. But then also we have midterms, we have political stuff, unfortunately, also kind of happening too, right? So could be an interesting thing right here.
Putting everybody in the spot, do you think the inflation increases are going to level off, or do you think they'll continue? What do you guys think?
I think that it's going to start to level off when the Fed, well, Jerome Powell said in the last meeting that he wants to see multiple months of oil going down and all of the derivatives that would come from the price of oil, right? Like gas and transportation and, like all these types of things, supply chain issues are kind of related to that, all these things, right? He wants to see more than a month. I mean, we had a pretty significant drop in oil recently, but the question is that going to be sustained or not? Yeah. And we see people even on the political level, like Biden's getting really angry and starting to write angry letters to gas companies, like things like this, right?
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. It remains to be seen if it's going to be sustained or not. OPEC hasn't indicated in any way that they're willing to kind of loosen the nozzle a little bit. So I don't know.
What do you think, Jason?
I don't personally have enough knowledge in regards to inflation, all the different complexities behind that. But what I do like doing in terms of research and thinking outside the box, specifically with the crypto space, is seeing and looking at and paying attention to all the things that are happening behind the scenes. So like FTX, Robinhood, Fidelity, all these large other institutions, and you just see like little nuances, little tiny like remarks. And even what's the ETF? What was the name of the company?
Grayscale.
So Grayscale. So it's Grayscale. And Robinhood enabling their ETFs on Robinhood, the app, like all these little like onboarding things, right? So eventually, all that stuff is going to come to a trigger point to where crypto is good. We're starting to also see that through. Again, not like to get too political, but from government regulatory aspects, Russia talking about positivity, all this other stuff. So when you start putting all the behind the scenes type stuff together, I just feel like there's a lot of things coming or being worked on, and then one day it's just going to be like liftoff in a way. That's just my take. Especially when they're again, I'm not so great on like impulsive names, but the owner of FTX, Sam, I think, saying that they had like billions in reserves, like ready to invest. Like there's a reason why. I mean, if you're at this low, now is the time to also buy and start accumulating, which we've been seeing over and over again. But I mean, if you put 2 billion or $1 billion in and BTC goes back up to 50, 80,000, I mean, that's billions. Like, that's $1 billion. Like think about that. That's insane.
Back in November, everybody would have killed to buy Bitcoin at 20,000, and here we are, and everybody's afraid to buy at 20,000. You know what I mean?
Well,
because people want to buy into strength, not
Well, yeah, because people work against their own interests. This is basic psychology, right? Behavioral psychology 101.
If only we had an AI that could help out with that. Oh, wait.
I know, weird. The other important thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows that I brought this up in the premium group in June. By the way, please subscribe to our premium group. We will, to get into it, you buy and burn AI, our token, and you get a membership, and it pumps the price of AI because people are burning AI to get it. Anyway, do that through Telegram. I'll tell you more about it later. In June, I messaged in our premium group a very important key of information regarding the market bottom. And it was this. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you guys now. Most important key about the market bottom that was here.
Just let me know when you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
There it is.
ProShares launching a short Bitcoin ETF this week, June 20th. That was the most important key that we were at a market bottom. Do you know the last ETF ProShares launched that was related to Bitcoin, when that was? Nope. Anybody want to raise their hand and guess?
No.
No idea.
The last one they launched was the long Bitcoin, right? Long meaning positive Bitcoin ETF. Yeah. They launched it here at the market top.
Interesting.
Literally right before the market top. And you see right here.
They're pretty good at timing things, huh?
Right here, right? This is July 1st, June 30th. This is when they launched the short BT, the short one. You see how good these guys are at timing the market? This was the most important key to know that we were actually at a market bottom, was ProShares. ProShares is, by the way, connected with the CME, which hold their stunt in December of 2017 with their futures, right? When they launched Bitcoin futures in, I think it was November or December of 2017, that also caused the market top. These guys are interconnected. That was the key.
Definitely see that. Another thing that, interestingly enough, that I'm kind of also watching is like Rothschilds or other larger investment groups that are out there. A lot of those corporations have to make their investments public, like SEC regulations, right? So you can actually see what they're buying. And the accumulation of Grayscale shares has just been increasing like month after month after month. So that just is coinciding with GBTC, and then that difference in price. So
you saw yesterday, I posted in the premium chat, there was a huge purchase in Grayscale's GDLC large cap crypto ETF. Huge one, like historically large purchase in there.
But a lot of people also aren't aware of the GBTC and the price difference of that. I mean, even right now, it's at like $14. It's a big difference.
Yeah,
wild. I remember trading at 40.
30% to the NAV, which is sad, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, once everything else starts to come up, this has to also theoretically catch up to it, right? So it has to catch up, and then eventually we're wanting to see this hit like an equilibrium. You want it to to actually match. I mean, that's also the point behind this. So if they're getting it at such a price here, once everything goes up, I mean, that's lots of money to be made in that event.
So Grayscale's ETFs that trade on the equities markets work like a rubber band. And so rubber bands like sitting around. When sentiment is negative from the securities and equities space about crypto, which they believe to be a speculative asset, there will be a larger and larger and larger discount to NAV. So that'll end up causing GBTC to dump even worse than Bitcoin dumped. That's what that means. And then when sentiment improves, investors, you're talking about like tons of guys in the fiat space, they go and they buy the Grayscale stuff because they, for many different reasons, can't or won't expose themselves directly to crypto. This is how they do it. So they'll go and they'll buy the Grayscale funds, which then causes this to rubber band upwards and cause a positive premium to the NAV. Then Grayscale's funds pump even harder than Bitcoin and crypto pumped. And so you can play this kind of rubber band effect if you know kind of where the sentiment is at. Right now, we're at like, what, 30% discount, something like that? I gotta check.
I think it says like 40%. Yeah, it's a big difference.
Negative 31%, yeah.
31? I thought I saw 40.
No, it was 34% like a couple days ago, but yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it's really discounted. So even break even, it's like pump, you know, like 35, 40% to even break even with Bitcoin.
All right. Also, just being cognizant of the time. I like having fun with these convos. Travel In actually had a question in regards to savings rates, if they're affecting the crypto market in a positive, negative way. So low savings rates, do you think that that's going to affect crypto in any aspect? And then we'll kind of end it on that note. Hopefully it's a positive.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, savings rates are so low. At one point in certain European countries, they were negative. You were literally paying the bank to take your money. And why anybody would do that just blows my mind, but there it is. So, yeah, I mean, the problem is inflation, Trevelyan, right? And you guys probably see where I'm going with this is, you know, inflation basically turned your savings account into a checking account. That's the problem, right? And it effectively turned your equity investments into a savings account in some capacity, right? If you know the blue chips or whatever are not performing too well, which they're not this year, right? So you know that's the problem, right? When you've got hyperinflation as we do, that's why we keep talking about it. But right now, it's really tough to see how. You know, if you've got core CPI at 8%, right? Core inflation at 8%, your savings account is offering you 1%. You're literally dropping 7% in the savings account. So
you're just losing money.
Is it bullish for crypto? Yeah, because why would you stick it in a savings account? It makes no sense. Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense.
I agree.
Well, there's two schools of thought. There's retail, right, which is mostly kind of these FOMO and FUD cycles, right? If you travel, kind of like track mass audiences in retail, and then there's strategic and larger funds and things like that, and they hopefully more calculated about it. Right? Yeah,
I would hope so. All right, let's end it on that note. There's a lot of information in today's episode. I gotta timestamp this, gotta iron it out. Let's end it on that note though. So as always, everybody, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, uplink. All the links are in the description below, as well as a Telegram group. You have to put information about the private group as well, how to join it. We will, I think it's in our best interest to also have another video just specifically on the credit cards and pointing out some math behind it as well. So we could just show the mathematical aspect of it. Do you think we'll also know the partnership for uplink before next week's live show? So we'll know within the Telegram group on Twitter, or how soon will that be, do you think?
I think we can announce it next week on this show. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, because that's pretty big. And if this market is all coming back, especially for launch pads in particular, that's good news. That's huge news,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact that launch pads are waking up now is a very, very bullish sign. Absolutely.
Very big. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Will, even on that note, we need to have another market talk segment. And then
I missed it on Wednesday. Yeah, I know.
We'll actually hold some info for the private group, might I add. So we'll tease you guys for a little bit.
We need to make it a little easier to get into the private group. I think I made it too obscure. Honestly, that's the whole thing, right? Like we are pioneering this new model of premium subscription payment model involving burning a token, right? And so there's a few kinks to work out.
Learning as we go. That's the important part. We don't stop.
Precisely.
Keep going forward. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Hang on tight. Again, hit that like button, subscribe, leave comments, join our groups, ask questions. We'll also provide those credit cards. So Eric, got to give us those credit cards for those points. Waiting for them.
You got it. We'll actually post that, if not today, certainly this weekend, but we'll try to get that out today for sure.
Right, awesome.
And I think you'll find some interesting little nuggets that we didn't even hint at in this show. Got a lot of good info, but there's more coming. So watch out for that. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.